Since this year is going to be wacky for people who are trying to build their businesses, I decided to make a video to reveal the number one way to generate leads using your sales funnels. Now, this isn't exactly going to be a sales funnel technique, even though it does apply to everything you do inside of your sales funnels. And so the first tip actually comes from Socrates. I know that's not who you're expecting, but he famously said, know thy audience. No, I'm just kidding. He said, know thyself. But knowing thy audience is just as important as knowing thyself. See, here's the deal. So back in the day when I was first getting started, I had got into like some drop shipping, and I decided that I wanted to drop ship some fishing lures. So shout out to Peter Prue. He's like the e-com king, right? So I'd watched his videos and got really inspired, but I didn't really know how to pick my own product or anything else like that. So I did like whatever you wannabe noob does, and I just decided to essentially copy what I saw in the video. So I went out, found some fishing lures, and you know, back then there wasn't any AI that could write ads or copy for you. So you either had to write it yourself or you had to pay somebody to do it. So I just decided to write it myself. So I started writing all these Facebook ads, wrote the copy on the sales page, all of that stuff. And then I would launch these ads, right? And then all of a sudden, when my ads were running, I would get all of these crazy comments, like just a lot of hate and just negative comments. And at first I thought, oh, you know, these are just your typical Facebook trolls. But what I realized over time was that I literally had no idea what I was talking about. And that's why people were essentially making fun of me or hating on the ads, because it was just so out of touch with the audience and what they actually were looking for. And so the main thing is that you got to know your audience. You got to be where your audience is at. And I'm going to give you a tip right now that is going to allow you to know more about your audience than any of your competitors or any large corporations could ever dream of knowing. So here's what you want to do. You want to go out and you want to join Facebook groups and subreddits, forums, just wherever your audience is talking and vocalizing. You can also look at YouTube video comments and Instagram comments, different things like that, TikTok video comments, just to see what are the pain points. What are the things that your audience loves? What are the things that they hate? What really keeps them up at night? And more importantly, what is the language that they're actually using? Because there's nothing worse than trying to go out into an audience and you're not even speaking the same language of those individuals. It's not going to end well. So those are just a couple of ways that you can actually get to know your audience, which is going to help you with what we're going to talk about later in this video. Now, the next thing is that you need to pick your platform. And this just simply means find where your audience is hanging out. So are they on Facebook? Are they on Instagram? Are they on Pinterest? Are they on YouTube, TikTok? Wherever your audience is, you want to be where they're at. And then you're going to have two choices. So the way that Russell Brunson phrases this is, and I'll borrow this from him, he says you can either buy your way in or you can work your way in. And buy your way in simply means that you are going to buy ads and essentially pay for those platforms to put your message and your funnel and your offers in front of those people. Working your way in essentially is the organic route, which means that you're going to create content and allow the algorithm and all of that stuff to give you reach and put your message in front of those individuals. There's really no right or wrong way to do it. I typically say if you have more time than money, then work your way in. If you have more money than time, then buy your way in. Ideally, you do both. All right. Now, once you've got your platform, the next thing is that you got to create your bait. And some people call this a lead magnet, a giveaway, a freebie, an ethical bribe. I mean, whatever you want to call it, just know that it is a piece of content that you are giving away in exchange for the contact information of your target audience, thus converting them into a lead. Now, this is where knowing your audience comes into play, because if you know their pain points, if you know their desires, if you know what they hate, if you know what they've tried already that didn't work, that they realized that they didn't like and didn't want to do, now this bait that you create will be that much more impactful, which means you will have higher conversion. So you want to lean on all of that information that you gathered when you were browsing those forums or reading those comments or reading in those Facebook groups to be able to create this thing, which essentially is the unique answer to their most pressing problems. Now, once you've created the bait, yo, if you're enjoying the video, drop a like on it. All right, let's get back to the content. Then you're going to create your landing page. Some people call this an opt-in page, lead funnel, whatever you want to call it. You're going to, on that page, put together a very direct, succinct message explaining how this guide and this thing that you created solves their most pressing problems. But more importantly, you are going to say that in their words. So that way you're not some outsider like I was trying to sell fishing lures to people who fish like almost every day of their life without knowing what you're talking about and just looking like a buffoon. You're going to actually be just like one of the natives or one of the locals, however you want to phrase it. I don't know if that was PC or not, but respect it or check it. But you get the point, okay? So you take all the information and plug it into the lead funnel. All right, a couple of things here that you really don't want to mess up, because I do a lot of recon on lead funnels and I see all type of crazy stuff. So one of the main things is that you definitely want to have an e-cover. It's just going to make your lead magnet look and feel more real and actually make it a tangible thing. The next thing is that you don't want to like have too much on that page. Like your story doesn't need to be there. They really don't care about that yet. And you'll have time to tell them your story once they're actually a lead. So you really want to keep that centered on the actual solution to the problems and some bullet points and the benefits. Now, here's the other part of this. One of the things that happens is that people will create these pages and then they never like split test it again, or it doesn't work and then they think the lead magnet stinks. That's not always the case. Sometimes it's actually the funnel and the page and the copy that stinks and the lead magnet is fine. So whenever you create this page, if it's converting right away, fantastic. Start testing different pages against it. Now, I'm not just talking about changing the button color like these gurus try to tell you. I mean legitimate changes to the page in the form of the copy, how you arranged it, the layout, the design, substantial changes that actually will let you know if it is truly a needle mover or not. And then more importantly, if the page doesn't work right away, instead of just assuming that they don't want the lead magnet, change the page and see if it works. Now, after a certain point, maybe they don't want the lead magnet and then you can scrap it, but at least test a couple of variations of that page because you did put in the work to actually create the lead magnet. Now, after you've created the funnel, this is the fun part. You're just gonna take that funnel and then put it in front of your traffic and try to get as much traffic to that funnel as possible. So that way you can make good determinations on whether it's working or not. Resist the temptation and the urge, because I've been there, to see like 10 people go to it and then realize that you're not rich yet and then just want to scrap the whole thing. You gotta send a good amount of traffic before you decide. I always say at minimum, you gotta get 100 eyeballs on it before you can make those determinations. But at the same time, people play this game at different levels. So you need to play it at the level that's most comfortable for you. But at minimum, at least get 100 people to it before you start to try to make any decisions and determinations on whether it's working or not. Now, here's the biggest piece of this. Follow up with your daggum leads. It is crazy to me how people invest time and money into building lead magnets and lead funnels and driving traffic to generate leads and then never follow up with them. They may send them a couple of emails or a nurture sequence to try to sell them something, or maybe make one phone call or send them a text, and then it kind of just ends there. I heard this in a Dan Kennedy training once, and I always think about this when I think about following up with your leads, right? He said, every time you don't follow up with the lead, he said, I want you to take $20, light it on fire, and then like flush it down the toilet. And it's so true, because you're just throwing money away when you don't follow up. So make sure that you follow up with your leads after you've generated them. And that's it. That is how you generate leads using your sales funnel. And until the next time, it's your boy Hus. Peace.